Over the last few classes, we were discussing about the major features of democracy, and already we have learned about two. And today we will be analyzing the third important feature of democracy, that is one person, one vote, one value. And here you should recollect what you have learned about universal adult franchise in your history classes. We know that equal right to everyone. The right to vote should be given to everyone, irrespective of gender, economic status, and all. And there were many movements aiming at this, and finally, many of the democracies acquired this universal adult franchise. But in spite of that, even in the present contemporary world, you can find countries which are not granting these rights to every citizen. And three such examples are given. First one is Saudi Arabia, that is, until 2015, women were not given the right to vote in Saudi Arabia. And the second country, that is Estonia, here the Russian minority were not given the right to vote. And the third country is Fiji. In Fiji, the value of vote was not equal. The value of indigenous Fijians' vote is more than that of an Indian Fijian. So, from this context, we can understand that in spite of universal adult franchise, many countries are not giving this one person, one vote, one value. So these kind of countries we cannot call as a true democracy. They are democracies only for the namesake. In this part, we will be learning about the fourth important feature of a true democracy, and it is rule of law and respect for rights. And here we are taking the example of Zimbabwe under the leadership of Robert Mugabe and his political party, that is ZANU-PF. Elections were held regularly in that country, and Robert Mugabe was a popular leader also. But still, we cannot call it as a true democracy. What is the reason? Because he used many unfair practices. Now we'll be analyzing what are the unfair practices. As I told, these days you will get 5 marks question. So at least 5 points you should include in your answer. So when you write your answer to this question given here, you should include at least 5 points from this. First point is that this government changed the constitution several times to increase the powers of the president. And at the same time, he made himself less accountable. Then the second point is that his party always tried to harass the opposition party, and its meetings were disrupted. Then the third point is that public protests and demonstrations against the government were made illegal. That means it is a punishable offense. Then the fourth point is that the right to criticize the president, that is also not there. And the fifth point, media, including the television and radio, were controlled by the government. So you cannot find any criticism of the government or the president in any of the media. And one more point is that the government ignored the court judgments. What kind of court judgments? That were against the government. If the court is criticizing or making any judgment against the government ignored it. So these are the points that you should include in your answer to this question. Then towards the end, you can find what are the conditions of a true democracy. Not only conducting elections, regular elections is enough. So, what are the other things that a true democracy should have? Here, one by one, it is given. There should be sufficient room for normal political activity. So, what is this normal political activity? Here, you should know that the role of opposition is also equally important as the ruling party. Opposition also has got some serious work to do, that is to criticize the government and bring out the limitations of that. And the state should respect some basic rights of the citizens. So every citizen should be free to think, express his opinion, form associations, and take political actions. These are included in normal political activities. That was not allowed in Zimbabwe. And all must be treated equal in the eyes of law. So these are other things apart from elections that should be there in a true democracy. So these were not there in Zimbabwe, hence we cannot call it as a true democracy. So what is normal political activity? That question I am not giving, but from this content you should know that, you should learn that.